again. Today we're making beans two ways. Everybody knows a vegetarian or has somebody in your family who's a vegetarian. So we're going to do traditional baked beans, a summer favorite, and also a vegetarian baked bean for those people who won't eat meat, don't eat meat, hate meat, or can't eat meat. So let's get started. First of all, we want to saute our vegetables and our meats. We're going to start with a half pound of bacon. This has been cut up in bite-sized pieces. And we'll get that going. Turn your pan up just a little bit so you get a sizzle. So obviously this is the beans with the meat. Put in a half pound of regular ground beef. A little fat's a good thing. We're going to be draining off this fat along the way, so no harm. Break that up a little bit with your spatula. Once it starts cooking, it's going to start breaking up more easily. This is probably going to feed about 6 people as a side dish. It's a very simple recipe, one that's probably been around for a long time and been changed by everybody who uses it. It was given to me by a dear friend in Minnesota, Tim Lane, and I'm sure he made changes to whatever original recipe he got. So, I've got my hamburger, my bacon. We're going to add our celery. This is about 2 stalks of celery chopped. We have 1 good-sized white onion. This happens to be a sweet onion. I'm not sure if it's a Vidalia or a Walla Walla. Just the same, it's going to work if you don't have that. Use a yellow onion. It really doesn't make any difference. Okay, we're going to let that saute for a while. And we'll get our vegetarian side going. Over here, since you don't have the fat in these vegetarian products that you do in your real meat products, we're going to start with a little bit of butter. There's probably about a tablespoon of butter there. Switch that around your pan a little bit and get your bacon in here. This is a soy product. It's really quite delicious. I think that if you were given either one of these, and let's say you didn't have a choice, you would be just as happy with either one, because this vegetarian recipe turns out to be, I think, just as good as the meat recipe. So let's get that bacon in there. We're going to put in, we're going to put in our burger crumbles. Turn this heat up just a little bit. Add our celery, just like on the other side. And then add your onions. Stir this around a little bit. Now we're just going to let the onions and celery sweat. The vegetarian products don't really have to cook. They're fully cooked anyway. But you want to get your vegetables softened. Go over here and give this one a stir. You notice I've got plenty of distance between the two, so we're not going to contaminate the vegetarian with the meat. People who don't eat meat and haven't for a long time can get quite sick with the slightest contamination, so you want to make sure that everything is kept well separated. And most people would be cooking one or the other anyway, instead of both at the same time. Okay, we're going to turn our heat up just a little bit. We're going to let these sweat for about 10 minutes. And we'll be back to show you what happens next. Welcome back. When we left you, we were sauteing our vegetables and our meat products and our non-meat products, separate pans of course, separate sides of the stove. And now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. Everything is nicely sweated here. The vegetables are sweated, the meat is cooked. We've drained off most of the fat from the bacon and the ground beef. It's not totally necessary because this recipe can be done in a crock pot, whereas you wouldn't be draining anything off. You would just leave the whole thing there, and you really, especially if you use a low-fat ground beef, you don't have that much fat in it, and a little bit of fat didn't ever hurt anybody. So let's add the rest of our product. We'll start with the meat side. We have here lima beans, we have some Great Northern Whites, and we have some pork and beans. So we're going to add all of these in. All at once is fine. You're going to add 3/4 of a cup of tomato ketchup. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And by the way, if your brown sugar like mine has been in a cupboard for too long and has gotten hard as a brick, open it up. Stick it in your microwave oven for about 15 seconds and then just start working the box, and you're going to find it's just as good as new. It works just fine. No need to throw it away when it gets like that. So we have our ketchup and brown sugar. Now we're adding about a tablespoon of just yellow mustard, prepared yellow mustard. We've got, for the meat side, about a tablespoon in fact, of Worcestershire sauce, and a tablespoon of cider vinegar, which gives it a little bit of a tart flavor. Kind of takes away from all that sweet you've just put in. So mix these all together. This is a great dish any time of the year. Of course, most people would think of serving baked beans in the summertime, but it's just as good in the wintertime when it's cold outside. You've got a nice hot dish. You're doing your ribs in the oven instead of on the barbecue, or your chicken, or whatever you're having with it. So we're going to mix those up. We're just going to let this sit here for a little while I get the vegetarian ready. Now on the vegetarian side, I normally would have put red kidney beans in here. I didn't have them, and so I used the white beans instead. Use whatever you have. I wouldn't put garbanzos in, but definitely if you had black beans, you could certainly do that. On this side we have a red kidney bean, a pinto bean, and a lima bean. Make sure that your lima beans don't have any meat products in them. You've got to read the labels. So, same as with our meat beans, we're putting in our 3/4 cup of tomato ketchup, our 1/2 cup of brown sugar, our tablespoon of prepared yellow mustard, and to this we're putting in a tablespoon of A1 sauce. Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it, so vegetarians don't want Worcestershire in their beans or anything else as far as that goes. Then add your tablespoon of cider vinegar. We're going to mix that all together. When we come back, we're going to put this in some baking dishes and finish it off. Hi again. Our beans are now ready to go into the oven. So we have prepared 2 pans with some non-stick cooking spray. All you do is put your beans in, stick them in the oven. It's a 350 oven for 1 hour uncovered. I don't have 2 matching casserole dishes, so it doesn't make too much difference what you bake them in. You can do a flat dish, you can do more of a high-sided casserole if you'd like. There's your bean dip, or excuse me, your meat beans, and this is your vegetarian. And remember, if you don't want to go through this cleanup with the pots and pans and everything, put everything in a crock pot. It turns out absolutely wonderful. Okay, there we have it. We'll knock that one little bean in there. We have our oven set at 350. We have plenty of room to put the vegetarian to one side and the meat on the other, so we won't have any contamination. If you are cooking for a very strict vegetarian who doesn't want any kind of mixture whatsoever, cook them separately. Maybe you have 2 ovens. I don't. While my beans are in the oven for an hour, it gives me time to take my dog out for a walk. It's his time to go, and by the time I get back, the beans will be ready to take out of the oven and enjoy with the rest of our dinner. You may not want to have a dog to walk. You might like just to sit back and watch TV. And whatever you want to do for that hour, do that. It also gives you prep time to finish the rest of your meal. Thanks for joining us for this Mitzi's Kitchen. Next time, we're going to be doing cornbread salad. Don't miss it.